An important paper came out a few years ago by a Melbourne psychologist called Nick Haslam, and it's on what he calls concept creep in psychology in particular. And it's an excellent paper, and he looks at how harm, the terms harm, disorder, addiction, abuse, and trauma have become diluted over time. Their definition has expanded both vertically and horizontally to include things that 2 decades ago we would never consider to be traumatic or harmful. And he gives very concrete examples. So neglect of children didn't used to be considered a form of child abuse. Now it is. Things like sex addiction didn't used to be considered addictions. Now they are. So these terms keep expanding and expanding and expanding. And so now we're getting to a situation where activists, I don't know if they do this in Australia, but at least in the United States, you will see signs saying silence is violence. You've got this expansion, and you'll hear terms such as epistemic violence. If I disagree with your argument, I've committed epistemic violence against you. So we've got this horrible disfiguration of the English language, and you're absolutely correct in that it's tripping us up because, if you take a word like racism, it used to mean something quite specific. It used to mean that you were discriminating against someone according to their race, sort of proactively against an individual. Now it means if you're a white person and you don't admit that you're a racist just by virtue of being white, then you're a racist. It's changed its meaning to being completely, it used to be an action. Now it's just a passive sort of mystical, magical thing that's just in the air. And if we don't acknowledge that it's there, then we're racist. So this disfiguration of the language is a huge part of what's going on. And I think it's key for us to identify how the language is being disfigured to properly address it and neutralize it.
I think that's right.
In addition to be able to understand this disfiguring of language in order to address it, does the disfiguration of language also in a way create almost a false consensus around these things? So, if you ask the average person, do you want to reduce racism? This causes harm. Should we end it? Because a lot of people don't know about this. Most people are good. The instinctive answer is yes.
Yes.
But Claire, don't you think people are getting trapped in that as well?
Yeah, and